Well, hello and welcome back to the Shallow Proclamation with myself, Thomas, and
Paul.
good to see you, man. I'm not going to lie, I am a bit shattered because I was filming a debate last night, and then we were in the bar afterwards with talking to the students, and so got back quite late, so I'm slightly
Big night
dazed.
out, was it then? In the bar?
Well, I mean, it
Massive
was.
bender.
We were talking about all sorts of interesting philosophical questions, but over a pint of Guinness.
Uh,
So I've kind of lost track of what day of the week it is, but I have to confess, Paul, I have seen this episode actually because I've been trying not to watch them as
Thomas.
they've gone out and save it for our reaction. But what happened was my flatmates are actually quite into Doctor Who as well. Hello, Chris, if you're watching. My flatmate Chris, he came down into the kitchen and he was like, "Oh, have you seen the new Doctor Who episode?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Oh, should we watch it now?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, it'll be a fun," because we hadn't hung out as a flat for a while, so it was a good opportunity. So I'm afraid I did watch it.
You're telling me you've been watching Doctor Who with other people? Behind my back. Chris, is it? Chris, is it?
I was trying not to put it in that way, but that is exactly what happened.
No, it's fine. You know what? I almost watched it. It's funny, I almost did watch it, but I thought, no, I won't do it.
You were just tempted to watch it without me. I can't, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there seemed to be a little bit of buzz around it. You know, I don't know anything about it really. I've not seen. I've avoided spoilers.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Ruby's in it. We knew that from the Next Time trailer anyway. But
well, if you haven't seen it, Paul, today is your lucky day, because it's called Lucky Day.
See what you did there.
Shall we dive into it?
Well, I will say the only thing I've seen is I've seen a few. I've not read them, but I've seen a few article titles saying something about Doctor Who's sort of constant preaching on morality is getting very tiresome or something.
Right. Yes. Now, I won't say anything about this episode because to try and keep the powder dry, and I don't want to spoil anything for you.
No.
But I will be intrigued to hear your thoughts on this one. I will say that. I was given some Lindor balls. You ever had those? Delicious.
I have.
But do you know something I noticed?
Brilliant.
Is that
are they all the same flavour?
They are. Yeah.
Sometimes you get the ones that got the dark chocolate and the caramel ones and the white chocolate ones.
That would be the dream.
Clearly, whoever gave those to you doesn't like you as much as that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it Chris?
No. You would have got me the multicoloured Lindor.
Yeah, I would have, but not now.
But they remind me a little bit of the Death Star because you've got the two sort of hemispheres, and then there's even a little dimple.
Oh no, that is very Death Star. Yeah, I was going to say it's just a ball, mate. But
the problem is, the moment he sees that, he's like. But the problem is the dimple is on the North Pole rather than, I think, on the actual Death Star the gun is slightly further down.
Yes, it's kind of
that makes sense.
It is on the side. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then it's also got another thing on the other side, another little kind of.
What's the? Oh, there you go.
But yeah.
Into the mouth. Nice.
So I've lost it this evening. Shall we continue talking and have Doctor Who on in the background?
I think this season has been much more enjoyable than the last season. So, the last 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah. This is a good point. So far, this has been the strongest season since Capaldi's last season, would you say?
Yeah, which was what? Was that season 10?
Yeah, and how long ago was that? 2000.
Well, I think it's about 2016 or 2017, wasn't it? Which is just depressing.
Yeah, so I know people are still there are a lot of issues with this season, but I think that's just worth acknowledging. This is the best season we've had of Doctor Who since around 2016, 17.
Yeah. I mean, that feels like a long time, but then also the show just wasn't on the telly as much, was it?
That's true.
There was lots of gaps in the Chibnall era, so yeah. Weren't churning it out year by year.
I'm going to ask her to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ruby Sunday.
Interesting start.
Gen Z are always doing podcasts out of stuff, aren't they?
I'd be interested to see what Ruby's like in this, because I didn't particularly warm to her in the previous season. Interesting to see whether she's developed at all.
Are you getting slight Love and Monsters vibes from this?
I was literally just thinking, I was about to say, this feels...
And that was the last time I saw the Doctor.
I'm not negative about Love and Monsters, generally. I think it has some redeeming features.
I think it's kind of a fun story. It has some weird moments, but I quite like the concept of someone who's kind of obsessed with the Doctor, but never really gets to meet him for years.
I enjoyed that little bit of information on the screen there. Conrad pants softly.
People are always wearing those in America, Conrad pants.
But the Doctor's my best friend.
Is he, though? To be honest, because we know that she's not the best person he's ever met.
Aliens.
That's
right?
Yaz.
Aliens are real. We all know that.
Because there's a great little cafe around the corner if you have time for a quick one.
Oh!
I mean,
Now, no.
coffee, obviously, or tea, or just...
Coffee
Aye.
sounds great.
It's quite forward, isn't it? Asking out your podcast guest.
Yeah.
That's quite nicely done, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is nice. Yeah, that is good. It's a great scene.
For you.
The kind of blurring the reality and
Tonight, and it blocks the Shreek from tracking you.
the vision of what would happen.
On one condition. You let me buy you dinner. Or we both buy dinner.
I wasn't...
If that's too old-fashioned, just we eat it.
Right.
Going Dutch. That's, again, quite weird, isn't it? Asking for a second date on the same day.
Yeah, he's very keen, isn't he?
Yeah.
Considering as well that he basically stalked her to meet her in the first place, right? Posted her picture online until someone found her, or she came to him.
Now, I like the way this is shot, putting the camera actually in front, down the line of sight, which is quite nice.
Well, people have said, haven't they, there's a lot of fourth wall breaking in Doctor Who at the moment. There was the last season a little bit with Mrs. Flood, and she keeps doing stuff like that, and
Yeah.
now we've got more.
Whoa.
Is it a theme?
Maybe.
Because what happened last year was just not normal. I mean, I fought gods, and I watched the world turn to dust.
Space babies.
Watched a snot monster almost get wrenched out of an airlock.
And got farted across space.
Yeah, you could rewrite the Rings of Akatan speech, but for Ruby. I've seen snot monsters almost die. I've seen ships propelled by human methane. Take it all. You think you're a god, but you are no god.
I've seen a song and dance routine at the end of recording at Abbey Road.
Or the devil himself. Yeah, does this remind you of anything, Paul? So I'm now doubting myself.
What, another episode?
Yeah.
I mean, the pub setting is a little bit reminiscent of 73 Yards.
Yes. But I was thinking more classic era, just in terms of this sort of...
Oh, like the demons?
Yeah.
I
don't know
did
if
think
it's-
that when I saw the church and they were walking across the green.
Yeah. And I don't think it's like an overt reference, but just like that, someone mentioned the devil there, and then just seeing these creatures kind of around this small town village. And they reference the Wicker Man as well. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Maybe a subtle homage.
Yeah, perhaps so. Oh, here we've got some of our unit crew back again.
Yeah, Shirley, is it? And Ibrahim.
Right, yes. Well done, I wouldn't remember their names.
Now this again is a bit like the demons, isn't it? With a unit rocking up at the village. And a kind of gargoyle-esque creature.
Conrad, what's he talking about?
Oh, there we go.
Plot twist.
I did wonder whether there was going to be something suspicious about him.
Fascism on the streets of Britain tonight.
Fascism. This is such a non-specific way of putting it, isn't it?
Go to hell.
You see, I am fighting a battle on behalf of everyday people who just want to get through their day and feel safe and warm and fed. And then along comes this noise. I'll tell you your future. You die in a prison cell, boiling in anger and poison, until your heart packs in age 49, alone and unloved, forgotten.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm the governor. And it's your lucky day.
Lagos, Nigeria. I've been expecting you.
Wait, you're all missing.
It is always hungry. We must feed it.
Who are you? This is my domain.
What the hell is this?
There we go. Paul. Thoughts?
Ha! Yeah, interesting. I think it started off really, really strongly. A lot of good promise, like you said. Lots of sort of good atmospheric feel to it. Very, like you said, it had a bit of a feel of the demons, you know, and the village pub, the Wicker Man-esque type thing, you know, a little bit 73 Yards as well, which had, you know, some positive things in. I'm a bit disappointed it's a Dr. Light episode. I kind of feel that, like, in an 8-episode season, you shouldn't have a Dr. Light episode. It's just completely unnecessary. Yeah. What on earth is Ncuti Gatwa doing that's more important than the thing he signed up to do?
Being the central character. And
exactly, the central
and
figure.
it's all like recorded well before the date it airs, so it's not like the classic era where they'd be shooting every week. And surely, I know scheduling can be challenging at the best of times, but you'd think they'd be able to get him for 8 episodes, surely.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, not even just the Doctor, but there's not much of Belinda either, I suppose, given that she's the new companion, that she's just sort of pretty much shafted in this episode.
Bobby Shafto.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm a little I'm a little bit pissed off with it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I had the same feeling.
In that it started so promisingly, and then it felt like at the end, what it became was, it felt like a little bit like it was just. I know it wasn't written by Russell T Davies, but it felt a little bit like. Well, I won't see Russell T Davies thing because it wasn't a Russell T Davies thing. It just felt a bit like the writer turning and saying, here's my soapbox I want to get on and make my point. And
it was Chibnall era level.
With the Doctor in the TARDIS at the end there, like, and I felt that was a little bit undoctory as well, like, because he was almost sort of like, you're going to die when you're 49, and sort of glorying in his death, like. We've seen that a couple of times in this season, actually, haven't we? Sort of like with the guy. What was his name in the first one? Was he called Colin? I want to say Colin. He probably wasn't called Colin.
Oh, Al.
Al. Yes. Yeah.
Al,
of course.
Al.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to make that connection as well, because the idea of the boyfriend who turns out to be this kind of terminally online, messed up kind of conspiracy theory wacko.
But so there's that element of it. But what bothers me more is what we've had twice in this season so far is like, it clearly there's a view from the top here, whether it's Rusty Davies or Pete McTighe in this as the writer of this episode. They've got two characters who are a bit, similar in that sense, like the incel character, the kind of right-wing conspiracy theorist kind of figure. And basically the message the show has put forward is these people, who are people in our society right now, because it's obviously trying to make a point about people in our society, these people are completely irredeemable. And even the Doctor thinks they're irredeemable, to the fact that he laughs when they die and he glories in the fact that this guy's going to die in his cell at 49. And at that point, I kind of go, I don't think that's really what Doctor Who's about.
Yeah.
I kind of think, much as I completely disagree with those people, Yeah. It just feels to me like a very, quite a sort of, quite an arrogant way of writing as well, a sense of like superiority, like where we're clearly better than these people, like these stupid, misinformed idiots, and they're so pathetic that there's no redemption for them, or can be no redemption. Yeah, and it just jars a little bit against what I think the core of the show should be, that you can't really, I mean, that, that it's, I don't know. That's what I've taken away. And my immediate thought of it is, it feels a bit ham-fisted, obviously. It's like, it's so on the nose that...
Like as ham-fisted as a bum vendor?
Exactly. It's definitely very on the nose. So but to the point, having the scene with the Doctor at the end, again, it was a little bit like I remember your comment you made during the first episode, when they said, like, Planet of the Incels, and I think your comment was, for those of us at the back, who can't, as if people hadn't made the connection already. At that point, so it's so clear what the episode is doing, and then to have that scene at the end with the Doctor, it's like you'd have to be a complete moron not to have picked up on that. So why put it in? It's the complete opposite of show, don't tell. It's just tell at that stage.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, because it's not a bad idea in itself as a story.
Yeah, even because I quite like the inversion of, okay, in the real world, the conspiracy theorists would believe something like there are aliens, and then the government or the military are covering that up. Whereas in the story, it's his conspiracy theory is that UNIT has been lying and that there are no aliens, and it's always been people in costumes, and it's just being used to control them. So I thought that was a kind of fun inversion of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you could definitely do so, and and there's the fun sort of twist of they were just people in costumes, and he did turn out to be a scumbag. All of that as a story, as you say, could be done quite well. I think it, as you say, it's so intent on mapping it onto the real world and showing you how it's mapping it onto the real world. I mean, the line that did just make me laugh out loud both times was, fascism is everywhere on our streets. And I mean, obviously fascism is a very serious subject, and I wouldn't want to laugh at it, but it's just it's putting it in such a nondescript way, but it's like, Yeah, we all know what you're talking about there. These online groups.
Yeah. I think the thing that bothers me about the tone of it is that it feels like from the, let's say, I don't know, just generalizing, let's call it the production team, whoever's behind the thrust of this kind of story, or the one in the first episode as well.
Yeah,
it seems to have a view. It feels like there's a very us and them feel. Like, we're over here, the enlightened ones, and there's those people over there who are clearly like awful people. And actually, I think where Doctor Who has been strongest is when you've had those episodes, a bit like when we talked about Midnight. In Midnight, what you see is that humanity is the greatest monster, and it can be anyone. But I don't get that sense with this, at the moment, in this tenure of Doctor Who, or this era. It feels a little bit like what we're getting from the show's view is, there's us over here, who are the, who are in the know, and we're kind of the good ones. And then there's those people over there, and they're all bad. And it feels a little bit sort of, I don't know, mean-spirited.
Yeah, a critical drinker said this. Well, I don't agree with everything he says, and he can be a bit too harsh sometimes. But he said of the previous season, it feels like the show is made with spite, and it's
that's a great description of it.
You can either get on board with what we're doing, and if not, we want nothing to do with you.
And if exactly, and it's that kind of attitude that it comes across, and that's come across in some of the interviews with Russell T Davies, that there's almost a sense of like spite towards the fans, and if people don't like it, clearly they are lower than low. Go out and touch grass. They're clearly incels, and it's like, or Russell, it might be that sometimes it's not as good as you think it might be.
Yeah, and it's a tragedy of like the polarization in society in general. Sorry, this is getting quite deep, but
well, that's what you could argue. It's good that the show makes us talk about something like that.
Absolutely, yeah. But you see it on all sides, don't you? But there can be a sense that, because for instance, if someone in the Connor sort of camp, or Connor adjacent camp, let's say someone who's quite right wing, is into conspiracy theories, if they watch this episode, it's going to be it's not going to win them over, put it that way.
No, it's not going to make them stop and think and reconsider.
Whereas if you told that story and you had a sense that the Conrad was that sort of person, but you showed him as a kind of three-dimensional character, and maybe even the possibility that he can change, or just some possibility that he isn't, as you say, irredeemable, then it could actually be better for the conversation, whereas it feels like this is only going to polarize things more.
Yeah.
And so the people who agree with it are going to be like, yes, this is exactly what's going on, and the people who disagree with it won't want anything to do with it. So it's just kind of, it's a shame, isn't it, when it's so overt.
Yeah. And I guess it's, I think that that's a really helpful point, isn't it? That it's not gonna, that's not gonna move anyone. It's just like from one place to another. Whatever side you're on in that, you're already gonna, it's just gonna reinforce it, isn't it? Which at that point is, like, it's like when you've got children squabbling about something, and they start making catty comments, and you go like and you say that's not helpful, like, and that's kind of feel about the episode. Like, you just want to say to the Doctor Who production team, that's not helpful. That's not really gonna. If you're trying to make a point, you're not actually going to move anyone to your side by what you've done there. If anything, you're just going to solidify people more in their own view. But I think. Yeah, what bothers me most, like I say, is that sort of the way there seems to be this bent in the show at the moment of sort of, there are the irredeemable people, that even the Doctor is just like, no, and we're not talking about like Daleks or Cybermen, things that have been, we're talking about actual human beings, and particularly because it's deliberately trying to talk about things in 2025 culture or 2024-25 culture. It's quite a big statement to make a show where your main character, who generally is this kind of all-embracing character, is basically saying large swathes of our society are now beyond redemption.
Yeah.
And there's only us, the pure, over here, who know what's right and what's good.
Yeah. And it's like I'm just concerned with making sure that people are safe and warm and well fed, and you're contributing to this noise. These cowards that are just after money. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I think it's a flawed episode. It's got a lot of, like I say, there's a lot of good stuff in there, and there's a lot of good potential. And as you say, the reversal idea of it's the aliens that are the conspiracy and all this, that there's lots of nice things, and it just becomes too much like trying to clobber someone round the head. And it's when the agenda has become at the forefront rather than the story. The story is clearly there just to, I want to get across my own political viewpoint as a writer or as a production team or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And at that, you kind of just go, well, yeah, I mean, some people will be fine with that. I mean, I just think that, to me, that's not good writing. Good writing would be, it makes us think about themes and ideas and ask questions and have a dialogue rather than just someone ramming their view down your throat.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not, and this isn't us saying that we're actually like Conrad, that's where our viewpoints like.
Well, the thing is, there'll be some people who watch this and they'll just, because they'll be in that camp who are sort of, the non-Conrad camp, their instant assumption will be, well, but if you're not with us, you must be in that camp. And therefore you are part of the problem as well. So if you don't like it, go outside and touch grass. And it's that kind of thing where you go, yeah, it's not helpful.
And I would hope that even if I agreed entirely with the showrunner's view of the world, I would still hopefully recognise that this episode was unhelpful in the conversation. One positive I will say, I think it had a strong start, as you say. I also felt, and I don't know what you feel about this, but I kind of bought Ruby more in this episode than her entire season. I don't know if it was just more time or she's had a bit more time to get into the role. But even though it wasn't a very well written episode, I bought her performance more than I did in a lot of her episodes when she was the main companion.
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree with that. Yeah. I still don't think I particularly gel with her as a character, but I think there is definitely an improvement on last season. I think I'd roll with that. Yeah. What did your housemates think when they watched it?
Yeah, I mean, we were all we all just kind of sat down and we were all quite tired, and we found it kind of, it was like a fairly entertaining watch, past the time. But I think they were a little bit like, yeah, okay, this is taken a bit of an unusual turn.
Well, I think it's because it not only is it so heavy-handed, but it does, for quite a lot of the episode, it doesn't do that. For the first sort of, up until when the sort of hoax is revealed, it's pretty much going straight down the line as a story, and then suddenly it goes, haha, here's my thing I was trying to make the point about, and then it really just swings into it, like goes into it full whack, doesn't it? It doesn't hold back. Feels like a massive gear change.
And you're absolutely right that the most revealing moment is the Doctor TARDIS scene at the end, because in a Doctor Light story, in Doctor Light stories, it's always significant what they do with the Doctor when they bring him back at the end. That's kind of the real punch, or what what the writers really want to say with the episode. I think it kind of worked quite well with Dot and Bubble. I know people had issues with that episode, but I thought the Doctor's appearance at the end there was actually quite powerful when he did that kind of speech, because they were rejecting him because of his skin color, and that worked really well in that episode. But here, the TARDIS materializes around him, and it is a kind of intervention, isn't it? And he's just saying, here is the Doctor's verdict on this man. And it's not even, you could, change, once you get out of prison, if he gave him a real pep talk and said, this was a real bad idea, but, surround yourself with it, get some help. Just none of that. Just, yeah.
What the Doctor said is the Doctor's attitude to him at the end is the attitude you'd expect to have from the companion, and then the Doctor says, shows them that actually even someone like Conrad can come back, or be brought round. Because I think that just to me it makes the character of the Doctor, it doesn't fit with the character of the Doctor from the 60 years worth of the show. And it makes the character quite sort of self-righteous and unlikable.
It does. Yeah, there we go. We've just come up with a better ending. So you have Ruby saying to him, go to hell. And that's kind of understandable from where she's at, and he betrayed her. But then the Doctor shows up and he gives him a tour of the universe, and this kind of, wants to transform him, wants to see him grow and become a better person rather than just condemn him.
It's a far cry from sort of Last of the Time Lords, isn't it? Like, with all the Masters done and the Doctor's like, I forgive you. And yet what Conrad has done is so terrible that you can't wait for him to die in his cell at 49, Yeah, and to be fair, it is, Conrad is sort of a bit of a scumbag in absolutely.
Scene. But the Doctor's making no effort for kind of trying to get through to him, really.
No, he just has the conversation to tell him, you are noise, you are terrible. There's no there's no trying to bring him back, to save him from himself or anything like that. Which I think, it doesn't fit the character, but I think more concerning, it gives you the sense that the people behind the show also have those opinions, and that's leaking into the show in a way that is detrimental to the show, in my opinion. But
so a disappointing one overall.
It's hard to. I mean, if anything, it's certainly provoked good conversation.
Yeah,
not for necessarily the right reasons, but you, like you say, it really highlights that sort of polarization in our society of the sort of that's there and has grown, particularly since sort of 2016.
Yeah. Oh, he's frozen up.
Tell me if I come back.
Yeah, sorry, it was weird. Your audio cut out, but your visual was still going.
Okay. I was just saying about 2016.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just saying that, there's been this polarization that's sort of grown and grown sort of in the West, in sort of since Trump in the States, and obviously Brexit and things here and all those kind of things. And what the show should be doing really is bringing those things together, trying to bring those polarized things together through the character of the Doctor in the way that I think the show has, would try and do more traditionally over the last 60 years.
And
it's not.
That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because when did we say the last really good season of Doctor Who was? Around 2016. I think it is connected. So. I think it is genuinely connected. I think there has been a cultural shift, and just the tone of conversations has changed since Russell T Davies was showrunner last time. That's really interesting.
But I'd be interested to hear people's thoughts on it as a story. as well, and maybe thoughts on whether they think some of those things were helpful or not.
Yeah, and I think it's oh no, I'm just going around in circles now, but I've been reflecting a lot because we've been frustrated when Doctor Who has been preachy, but it is a kind of hard thing to pin down, because we definitely believe it can grapple with issues, and there will be a way of doing this story that absolutely does grapple with the issue of people online sharing all sorts of nonsense, and absolutely there'd be a way of doing that in Doctor Who. I just don't think this is how you do it.
Well, and at the risk of being preachy myself, like whilst the show itself, of course, is not sort of an overtly, or has never been an overtly sort of Christian show. The character of the Doctor is far nearer to a Jesus figure, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, than sort of the smash them down Arnold Schwarzenegger hero, like of the action movie. And yeah, it just feels like that's not a thing at the moment. Like, the Doctor doesn't believe in bringing people back together, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, which again, even comparing that with Dot and Bubble, he was like, I don't care that you guys hate me, just let me save your lives. And I think that's why I found that ending powerful, because he was like, these people are repulsive, and their views are utterly despicable, and yet you still want to save them. I was like, that's what I want to see from the Doctor. But here, it felt nasty, as you say. I think just the tone of it felt different, didn't it?
And I wonder whether that's the fact that you said that, like, from Dot and Bubble, there's that inconsistency then in the character, and I wonder whether that just shows the danger of, as writers, letting your own things take over, so actually supersede the character. Obviously, as a writer, you're going to write in your own sort of ideas and themes and the topics you're passionate about are going to be raised probably through what you write in all kinds of ways, but it shouldn't be to the detriment of the character, like, of the show you're writing. It has to be consistent with the show. You might just say, well, you might want to make a big point about this, but actually that's not what this character is about, so you can't really do that here. But it feels a bit like people have gone, I want to make this point and I'm going to do it. Like, yeah. And screw the consequences of whether that goes in line with the character. But
are we now just being really preachy about how Doctor Who should be? Absolutely,
yeah. And anyone that disagrees, I hope you die in a cell at 49.
But the thing is, Paul, if they don't put a lot of effort into making that message clear, people won't get it.
Yeah, because people are too stupid. There's the clever people who will understand it, obviously, but stupid people who need to hear this message won't get it. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, there we go. I mean,
I'm looking forward now to having a look online to see what others have said about this now.
Yeah, because you said there'd been a bit of a buzz around it, and when you said that, I was like, I doubt that's especially positive. But
yeah, I'm looking forward to reading a few forums and seeing what others have made of it, to be honest. But the headlines of kind of Doctor Who being a bit too preachy is that making a lot of sense after that.
And that is interesting, because a lot of these headlines are from, newspapers that would be fairly, liberal or
I'm pretty sure one of them was The Guardian.
Yeah, and I think that's an encouraging sign, because if even like newspapers that would probably agree with a lot of the views of the showrunners, if they're saying, actually, we think this is being too heavy-handed, that I think that will hopefully make the showrunners sit up a little bit and be like, yeah, maybe we have overdone this.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to see that. I think it was I think it was The Guardian, because I remember sort of thinking, like, I was surprised that a newspaper like that would be so anti or be so sort of you put out by this messaging, because I would have thought it would be absolutely in line with the things they would have wanted to say and agree with. Yeah, I don't know whether it will make the writers sit up and take notice, because maybe because maybe they'll just say, no, touch grass. You people are the problem. The fans are the problem. The people watching the show are the problem. You know, if you don't like it, stop watching the show. Like, so there's, you know, what's it? After the 24th of May, there will be no more. There will be no more show. We don't exist, the fans.
Yeah, I mean, if somehow they're playing 4-dimensional chess and this is actually all deliberate, and it's going to turn out that this has been some alternate reality, and the Doctor, like this is like a counterfeit Doctor.
Yeah, I mean, if in the final two-parter something is revealed that puts all this into the perspective, and we understand why this has been the case, why it's been this way, why the Doctor's been like that, I would go, yep, bravo, you got pulled us in hook, line, and sinker. And at the same time, explain why there was a musical number at the end of Devil's Court, and completely backtrack on the Timeless Child stuff. And maybe put Davros back in his wheelchair, because come on, like.
Yeah, I think you said after the Devil's Court, like it would be a bold move if they wrote multiple episodes to sort of suggest that the show itself is falling apart, but then it was actually all part of the plan in the finale. And Empire of Death didn't really do that, but maybe the finale of this season is all going to be revealed.
Well, I mean, I do think, because there are, I sort of mentioned it very briefly, like, it has been a little bit meta, hasn't it? We had the fans the other week.
Yeah.
This idea of watching the show, and then even this episode, like I mentioned, the idea of the fourth wall breaking, this thing that's, the show is somehow like, I mean, I don't know how much deliberate that was today, whether it's tying in with a bigger theme, but obviously the Mrs. Flood thing, she's done a lot of that fourth wall breaking, and today they are looking straight down the camera, and you kind of go, well, is that a stylistic choice that's they're doing for a particular reason, as part of a bigger thing? I don't know. I kind of hope it is, so that, it's not just at the end you go, oh, it's just a bit random.
Yeah, and the Mrs. Flood thing is intriguing. It's although a few people I think, like this week I saw a few people saying, like, it is just a rehash of, like, a person who appears through a season, like, Madame Kovarian, appearing in season 6 through the little thing the whole time, like, who's this woman, who's Missy, or Rose keeps appearing in different episodes. When are we going to find out what's going on there? And you kind of go, yeah, it does. You can see how people could say RTD is slightly retreading ground we've already done quite a bit, but there's always a woman, isn't there? At the end of a Doctor Who
there was
episode.
A woman, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's got a good discussion though.
Yeah. Well, lads and ladettes, let us know what you think of this episode in the comments. Do join our Discord if you haven't done so already. Continue the conversation, and do check out our Patreon if you want the full commentary track. Anything to add, Paul?
No, I don't think so. Just see what comes next, I suppose. Yeah.
Stay safe, stay warm, stay fed, because at the end of the day, if our noise stops you from doing that, then we are just cowards looking for money. So
die in a cell.
Oh, brilliant.